Oh yeah, and just.
I know this.
Yeah, I was wondering.
We're gonna go live, guys.
Okay.
Hey, we're going live, guys.
Wait, are you going live now?
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
What are you doing to live?
We're going.
No, we're not. We got 5 minutes. It's just going live.
Got 5 minutes.
So people can come on and make sure that it's working.
Awesome. People are watching.
No one.
Chances recording. Where's this one?
Yeah.
Can't wait, dude.
Yeah.
We got this.
Hey, you've been doing this for a long time, huh?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. So do you do it
Semester
every semester for STRAT?
Yeah.
Do you do Harmon's every for Harmon's marketing, like?
His B2B.
Yeah, B2B.
I have for the past 2 years this year.
Wow.
Other people do it for him.
Dang. When do you finish or graduate?
Week.
Nice. Us too. Actually, except for Kelsey, but most of us.
And I'll graduate.
Yeah.
You guys are the lucky ones.
It's everyone.
We got 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Reverence and passion.
Excitement. Stand firm in our STA. Always point back to the research.
Always point back. It's just the questions, man.
Yeah,
They'll go great. They'll go great.
I'm just scared of all the finance questions.
Because I have to be. Small coughs are okay, but no water.
Deep
Very
breaths.
small coughs.
No water.
Try not to sway.
Oh yeah.
I tend to do
And
that.
in one spot, feel your feet.
I can't always put my feet against the wall.
And don't lean against the desk, dude. Yeah, don't do that.
So Stephen Carter.
I kind of use my hands when I talk.
I talk way too much.
You do. Not too much, but I noticed that you talk with your hands, but I don't do that. I just.
It's good. I'll try to tone it down.
I think sometimes it's good.
Yeah, but I do. I like make up like it's bad.
Just don't hit me. We got this, boys.
Why aren't they coming in?
I know, right?
Guys, there's a clock right there.
Making me
Is that
more
accurate?
and more antsy.
Does Sherman already have your PowerPoint slides?
Yeah.
Should.
It should.
We sent
Yeah.
them in.
Yeah.
You sent them to Lil, right?
Yes. Were you supposed to send them to Sherman?
Sometimes people have printed out one.
Oh no.
Oh no, we didn't print it out.
We have 130
Be like
slides.
150 pages.
That would be very costly.
Time
And not
consuming,
a
inefficient.
programmatic rec.
It doesn't
Doesn't align with our
align
definition
with
of
our
STA.
I'm sorry.
But it is difficult to imitate.
Definitely.
Passion and reverence.
Oh, there we go.
Passion and reverence.
Okay, why don't you just walk by and say, greet everybody, and then,
I'm Duke Choe.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
I'm James.
Hi, I'm James. Letitia Davis.
Hi, Kelsey Robertson.
Cyrus.
Kelsey Letitia.
Cyrus.
Hi.
hi, I'm
Hi, Kelsey.
Cyrus.
Cyrus. Nice to meet you, Letitia.
James.
Hi,
Hi, James.
Marrissa.
Nice to
Letitia.
meet you.
Hi.
Hi, Duke.
Hi, dude.
Nice to
Letitia.
meet you.
Nice to meet you.
you guys will start, you two there, I'll put Anton here.
No, that's all.
Are we waiting for more, or should we?
One more.
Okay.
He's in shape.
And your professor, we have to wait for your professor.
Yeah,
That's right.
As
That's
soon as
right.
we'll, yeah, you guys can get your seating chart up right. Well, we have a minute here.
Yeah.
Duke, right?
Duke,
Cyrus.
is you right
Is
there?
it Duke here,
Yeah.
Cyrus, right?
Yeah.
And then Marrissa. And
Cyrus.
Cyrus, okay.
Kelsey.
Kelsey and James, so it's down that order, but you're gonna take that slide away, and that's when we get lost.
Okay.
That's the problem.
We'll remind you along the way.
It is good to see, good to see you, Kelsey.
It's good to see you too, Bob.
You'll see her.
Sorry, guys, we're late.
All right. So before we begin, I'd like to start us off in prayer. So let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we just want to thank you for today and just for keeping us safe and bringing us here. We just want to pray for this presentation, God, and we just want to thank you for our panelists for bringing them here to take the time out to see our presentation, Lord. We just pray for this time. We pray that you be here with us, and we just pray for the safety of this day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. My name is Choe. I am a marketing emphasis.
I'm Marrissa McMauley, I'm a marketing management emphasis.
Cyrus, Dela, Cruz, business analytics emphasis.
Kelsey Robertson, business analytics emphasis.
James Yang, accounting emphasis. Now we'd like to present our research on Red Robin.
In 1940, a man by the name of Sam opened up a tavern near the University of Washington in Seattle. It was a local college dive bar that the college students frequented, and they didn't even have burgers on the menu. Sam was a part of a barbershop quartet, and he was always known to be singing a tune or humming a song. His favorite song was When the Red, Red Robin Comes Bob-Bob-Bobbing Along. He changed the name from Sam's Tavern to Sam's Red Robin because he liked that song so much.
In 1969, an entrepreneur of the name Gary Kingan bought the restaurant, and he expanded it. In doing this, he dropped the name Sam's and came out as Red Robin.
In 1979, two regulars named Mike and Steve Snyder had opened up the very first franchise restaurant in Yakima, Washington.
In 1985, Red Robin opened their first international location in British Columbia.
And in the same year, 1985, the first CEO, Jerry Kingan, sold a majority of interest to Skylark Corporation of Japan, and under their ownership, they only achieved marginal success and poor financial performance.
Skylark had a very aggressive and expansive approach, and as a result, the corporate-owned locations kind of suffered in profit margins. Franchises reported much higher results in terms of corporate, so they sought their most successful franchisee, Mike Snyder, for help. Snyder was brought on as COO and president in 1995. He had a rapid impression on the company, and with 1 year, the board of directors appointed him as CEO. Snyder then merged his 14-unit Snyder Group of franchise locations with Red Robin in 2000.
And on July 19, 2002, Red Robin became public. Their IPO started trading at $12 per share, and they ended up selling 4 million out of 5 million shares, raising $48 million.
And in 2009, Red Robin trademarks the sound "Yum" for the most viral ad campaign. It turned out to be a promise for their food and culture to promote a positive attitude.
2010, Steve and Carly became CEO, and during his tenure, he spearheaded the growth of many restaurants in North America. He helped revamp Red Robin's brand through strategies that included cost efficiency, expansion, and growth. He led to the opening of the fast casual dining of BurgerWorks.
And on September 2011, first BurgerWorks opened in Denver, and this was pretty much a simpler and a cheaper version of Red Robin, and this was important because it targeted different customers while tapping into a different market in the food and beverage industry.
In March of 2015, Denny Post was promoted to Chief Concept Officer from her previous position as Chief Marketing Officer.
In October 2015, Red Robin partnered with Ziosk. This enabled them to implement tablets at every table at their locations, and this is important because it provided another avenue of data capture of the end user.
In August of 2016, Denny Post was named the CEO of Red Robin, taking Carly's place after 6 years. One of the first things that she implemented once becoming CEO was closing down all but 2 of the BurgerWorks locations, and we'll discuss this more in the leadership section.
And so this is their current mission statement: make it fresh, make it fun, make it memorable, and above all, make them smile. Although a good mission statement, our team found it to be very customer-oriented. To inspire and empower employees, we'd like to suggest a mission statement that is both customer and employee-driven.
As a group, we have come to agreement that the main source of sustainable competitive advantage is a company's unique assets, attributes, or abilities that are difficult to imitate and provide a superior or favorable long-term position over competitors and increase customer perceived value.
Red Robin operates in the highly competitive food and beverage restaurant industry. This is an industry that engages in consistent price wars and faces declining profit margins. Red Robin has the opportunity to uncover and leverage newfound sources of sustainable competitive advantage by leveraging their customer loyalty, customer differentiation, and increasing customer perceived value.
After 15 weeks of researching Red Robin, we have uncovered some internal competencies that are unique and distinctive. These competencies have been dormant and under-leveraged in the past, and if you follow our recommendations and our long-term implementation plan, your company can avoid death, decline, and significant profit margin losses.
So moving on to expected outcomes, you'll see our clear mission statement, which is to be employee and customer driven.
We will leverage intellectual capital.
We will inspire, motivate, and empower our employees.
Improve customer service by understanding customer needs.
Able to differentiate our customers through customer data.
And this will eventually increase customer satisfaction and loyalty.
We will achieve higher premium profit margins.
And this will enhance and protect our brand image.
And overall strengthen shareholder activism.
So moving on to the internal analysis. Our entire 15-week study has been based on secondary research alone. No primary research was conducted because it was beyond the scope of our study. It would require too much time and money.
We recognize that there are drawbacks to secondary research. It could be potentially biased, outdated, and overall very limited. However, our methodology is sound, and that is because we consulted scholarly, peer-reviewed journals and articles from major academic databases. We also used reliable web sources, our company's website, and competitors' websites. On the screen, you will find 2 examples of scholarly journal articles that we have used during the study.
And so to begin our leadership slide, this is the first CEO, Jerry Kingen. Jerry Kingen focused a lot on expansion. He saw it more as an entrepreneurial experience, and he sold a majority of his share to Skylark Corporation in 1985.
And in 1985, Skylark Corporation, a Japanese restaurant operator, purchased the majority of Red Robin. And they were very focused on expanding. However, the store-owned locations started falling off because they were trying to implement foreign management.
Due to Skylark's foreign management, the American dining concept that Red Robin had adopted strategically suffered. So Snyder was brought on board as the most successful franchisee, and he had a rapid impression, like we mentioned earlier, on the board of directors. He was known for focusing on cost and efficiency. He achieved the success by making corporate locations match his franchise location profitability margins by focusing on store-by-store differentiation. And he also instilled a spirit of achievement and motivated employees.
In 2010, Stephen Carley was named CEO, and he introduced a customer loyalty program that increased sales, cost-cutting measures that was designed to save millions of dollars, and capital expenditure plans that cut back on the new store openings. This ultimately led to the opening of Burger Works, which was a fast casual dining that met different customer needs compared to the regular Red Robin gourmet burgers and brews.
Next, we have Denny Post, who is the current CEO of Red Robin. She became CEO in 2016, and she is the first woman CEO of Red Robin. She is a very charismatic leader, and she has over 30 years of leadership experience. Before she worked at Red Robin, she came from T-Mobile as their chief marketing officer. Like I mentioned before, she closed down all but 2 of the Burger Works locations, and she did this because they were underperforming. Denny Post is very dedicated to her position at Red Robin, and this is evident when she got a tattoo of a burger on her arm. She did this because she challenged restaurant managers to increase their overall restaurant scores, and once they did, she would get the tattoo. So that happened in 2016.
And so here's a chart of the current organizational structure. You may find it to be very traditional. So we have the current CEO, Denny Post, at top, VPs and officers below, and frontline employees and management at the bottom. Current drawbacks of an organizational structure that's traditional is a slowing of information that gets passed down from top to bottom, and slow corporate climbing from bottom to the top.
While Red Robin currently has a traditional organizational structure, we have seen movement toward contemporary ideology. On the board, you will find a quote by our CEO, Denny Post, highlighting her openness to change and creating new environments. So this movement toward a contemporary structure is important because employees are empowered to make decisions to best serve customers.
Our core burger values ensure that guests and team members alike are valued and treated equally from the company. Red Robin collects burger stories that emulate the core corporate culture of Red Robin and what makes Red Robin so special compared to competitors. These stories are collected and passed on to managers and peers to encourage and to give recognition to those that have shared.
Here you'll see a list of achievements associated with Red Robin's corporate culture. I'd like to draw your attention to how they got most allergy-friendly restaurant, and this shows their concern for their customers. Not only are they concerned with their customers, but also their employees, and this is shown in 2013 when they got top workplace.
And Red Robin also tends to actively give back to the community. They have been a proud sponsor of Special Olympics since 2005, and they also hold different fundraisers for foundations.
And aside from the charities that they give back to, Red Robin has built their own foundations. These foundations assist their employees during catastrophic events and times, and they also have a foundation that gets their corporate employees involved with the community once a year.
So from we have seen in our corporate culture, it is deeply embedded, and our research has shown it to be healthy and functional. Now moving on to human resources, we will be highlighting 4 functions of HR today, and those are recruiting, hiring, training, and retaining. We recognize that recruiting isn't always often thought of as a function of HR. However, we believe that it is important to strategically and proactively attract the best and the brightest in order to leverage intellectual capital.
Moving on to recruiting, Red Robin does not proactively recruit, they only offer online applications.
The hiring process for Red Robin is very standard. Applications are taken through online, and there will be an interview process if they see the application, and they will be contacted of the result.
Moving on to their training, we didn't find any specific training program within Red Robin, although there may be some internal training program that we are not aware of.
And in the retaining function of HR, Red Robin has implemented Yammer. Yammer was originally implemented to reduce the high cost of employee turnover, and it allows their employees to have a voice in the business. It also allows their frontline employees to pass information up to corporate, and they will be able to receive feedback. They're also able to mine ideas from their employees, and at the bottom you can see rewards. They also have performance-based some rewards, and it's for their general managers and management team, and they're offered incentives of $100,000, a leased Jeep, and a trip to meet the president of Red Robin.
Our research on HR has shown that Red Robin is strategic and proactive about their retaining function. Now moving on to operations. Red Robin currently boasts over 550 domestic restaurants. They are about 16% franchise and have almost 20 international locations. Red Robin has over 35,000 plus team members. One of the limitations of our research is that we were not able to find a differentiable number between corporate employees and the number of employees at restaurant locations.
And Red Robin has been consistently pursuing growth while acquiring franchised locations. Here you can see that the graph increasing identifies the number of restaurants and decreasing identifies the number of franchise restaurants. Just in the past year, they've opened up 17 new locations and acquired 13 franchised locations.
So Anaplan is a database asset that Red Robin utilizes to differentiate their restaurant locations based on performance. Before this, they were using Excel sheets for their financials, which had a lot of tabs and numbers and was just really complicated to understand. It slowed down performance. Managers were in the back a lot of the time trying to look at these spreadsheets instead of being out on the floor and connecting with customers and helping their employees. Now Anaplan allows them to set goals and gives them a daily report each day of their financials.
Red Robin values their strategic partners with Conagra Foods and KBS. Conagra Foods manufactures some of the products that are sold at Red Robin, and KBS helped campaign one of the most successful ads called Let's Burger. This campaign was centered around burgering and the idea that Red Robin is a fun environment that is welcoming to all guests.
In Red Robin, they source their food locally, and they make most of their food in-house, including their sauces. In an effort to be more efficient in their stewardship, Red Robin goes to these local suppliers, ensuring that they're following safety regulations properly. Unfortunately, due to the limitation of secondary research, we were unable to find more information about these local producers.
Moving on to the distribution channel of Red Robin, this is very straightforward. They interact with their customers at Red Robin or Red Robin Express locations. However, they also offer French fries in certain supermarkets.
At the end of the distribution channel, another avenue that Red Robin meets their end user is through delivery. Red Robin has a partnership with DoorDash to meet the time and convenience need of bringing a meal to a customer's door. This quote on the screen from CEO Denny Post highlights her desire to move more into online ordering and delivery. Denny Post would love to make this more of an in-house Red Robin delivery.
Now we'll be moving on to the finance section of Red Robin. Here we just want to highlight that Red Robin is in great debt. That's because they're pursuing growth. And also we'll clarify a decrease in net income in 2016.
Now, this is a balance sheet of Red Robin. This is a typical restaurant balance sheet, and this is in the thousands. I'd like to draw your attention to the property and equipment, how it increases from 2015 to 2016. And this is because Red Robin has been renovating and they since 2013, and they've been rebranding their restaurant. I'd also like to point out that this is their biggest asset, and that is typical in the restaurant industry because a restaurant's equipment and their restaurant is their biggest asset. I'd also like to point out how cash and cash equivalents has decreased from 2015 to 2016. This is because Red Robin has been acquiring their franchise locations and making them company-owned locations, and in doing that, they use their cash instead of accruing more debt.
And on this slide, I'd like to point out one, a decreasing total liabilities. This was due to us being able to pay off accounts payable and related payables. And at the bottom, you can see an increase from long-term debt from 2015 to 2016 with a jump to over 100 million.
Taking a look at Red Robin's income statement, you will see a steady decrease in franchise royalties and fees. This is due to the acquisition of franchise locations. In addition to this, you will see a gradual increase in total revenue. This is because the business has been healthy and profitable and is growing, so that's a good sign of the health of the industry. At the bottom of the screen, I'd like to point out asset impairment and closure costs. There is a large difference between 2015 and 2016, and this is due to the one-time non-cash cost of devaluing our assets. In addition to this, it's also because of the expenses accrued and closing down underperforming locations. This big increase in 2016's asset impairment has a opposite effect in our net income, so it declines in 2016, and this will play a significant factor in our financial ratios to come.
The continued income statement shows that the net income significantly dropped in 2016 compared to 2015, and this was due to the asset impairment, as Kelsey had mentioned. Due to the decrease in net income, that affects the earnings per share, which dropped in 2016 compared to the previous year.
And as two competitors, we have chosen BJ's and Buffalo Wild Wings because we felt that they attract a very similar customer as Red Robin. And you'll be surprised to not see Applebee's here, and that's because they're not publicly traded.
So now you'll see the current ratio of Red Robin, and their liabilities are greater than their assets because they are in great debt. In 2014, you'll see that there's a spike in Buffalo Wild Wings ratio, and this is because they chose to raise their prices in 2014. In 2015, it drops because they lowered their prices.
And here's a quick ratio, which is very similar to the current ratio. As Marrissa has just mentioned, the downward spike for Buffalo Wild Wings is due to the increase in their prices. But Red Robin, the blue line, is in the industry standard.
The cash ratio shows that Red Robin is more debt leveraged and has less cash when compared to their competitors.
Taking a look at total debt, you will see that Red Robin is more debt leveraged. I'd like to point out that our competitors did not record any debt in 2012 and 2013, and Buffalo Wild Wings again in 2014. However, once they did start becoming debt leveraged, the trend in their ratio mirrors Red Robin's trend. In addition, these values are all below zero, so for the restaurant industry, it is normal to have more debt.
And moving to debt to equity ratio, here we see that Red Robin is heavily leveraged by debt than their equity.
This inventory turnover ratio shows that Red Robin turns over their inventory more quickly, and this is because we use fresh and locally sourced goods as opposed to our competitors who tend to use more frozen products.
This is our asset turnover ratio for Red Robin, and you'll see that it is consistent with our competitors.
And here's our profit margin ratio. If you look at Red Robin, we are well below our competitors throughout all the years. And if you see that downward spike from 2015 to 2016, this is due to our asset impairment.
Taking a look at return on equity, once again in 2016, that huge decrease is because of the decrease in recorded net income from the increase in asset impairment. In addition, I'd like to point out that Buffalo Wild Wings had a higher ROE because they recorded a higher net income. And in 2017, we should expect Red Robin to trend back toward where they were because of it was a one-time charge for that asset impairment.
And moving on to price earnings ratio, you see a huge spike in 2016 for Red Robin, and that's because of a decrease in net income, which plays a factor in the denominator of this equation.
The current stock price of Red Robin is at $50.60, and they currently do not pay any dividends. In November 7th, they had a decrease in their stock market because they did not meet quarterly 3 earning expectations.
And as investors value growth, we have a stock comparison chart by percent changes since 2013. Here we see that Red Robin has grown 34%, while Buffalo Wild Wings has grown 64%, and BJ's has decreased 9.3%.
Moving on to marketing, you'll see our product mix right here. Our research has shown that this is a close representation of what the product mix would be, although we did not take this directly from Red Robin's website. You'll see that the core menu products make up the majority of their profit, that being 60%. And I also want to draw your attention to alcohol, which is 8%. We expect to see this to increase in the years to come because of all the renovations that Red Robin is doing with their restaurants.
And so here's the price of our average meal versus our competitors on the left side. You can see that our prices are fairly lower. We use a competitive parity pricing to keep a defensive budget, and we keep our prices low to keep customers away from the competitors. Red Robin also follows the cost plus pricing model, and on the right you can see the average price of a cheeseburger at each of our competitors.
So Red Robin in the marketing of place function interacts with all end users at restaurant locations. However, there's one channel intermediary in the sense that they do have some frozen fries in supermarkets. While this is a very small portion of our product mix, I'd like you to keep that in mind. So overall, we majority of the time have direct access to our end users at restaurant locations and can capture data from them at that place.
And Red Robin offers a lot of coupons and discounts. However, this can negatively impact the brand image and customer perceived value, as customers will be heavily relied on the discounts and the coupons.
Red Robin uses public relations as non-paid-for broadcasting media, and they strategically use this to enhance their brand image. For example, a manager at a North Carolina location decided to go out of his way to help a pregnant lady who was about to give birth and decided to comp her meal. This went viral on social media and on news reports, so we like to say that Red Robin uses word of mouth as their main source of public relations.
So moving on to their advertising, Red Robin advertises through YouTube, Facebook, which they update regularly, on Instagram, and also through TV commercials. KBS is in charge of their media planning, and I'd like to point out that they don't invest a lot of their money into their advertising, and this is shown in 2015. Red Robin spent $20 million on TV advertising, compared to McDonald's, who spent $800 million. This isn't very much.
And so for direct marketing, Red Robin takes you to their homepage. If you remember from our product mix, online orders take up 20% of our sales. So they further utilize this by offering free movie tickets if you buy a gift card with $25 or more.
Red Robin has the current customer loyalty program called Red Robin Royalty. This is essentially a giant discount promotion center. They use a lot of marketing communication that highlights free rewards and bottomless fun and rewards. A couple of those rewards include a free birthday burger. It includes every 10th item free, $20 toward your next visit. And so the majority of these rewards increase the dependency of customers on coupons and discounts.
And the personal selling of the company mostly comes from the front line of the company, which are the servers. Servers engage and interact with the customers, and they're given tips based on their performances. And servers are also able to capture data through the Ziosk and the POS system.
Moving on to our external analysis, here we're going to discuss our direct and indirect competition, technology, macroeconomic factors, and the industry customer.
Our direct competitors currently are Buffalo Wild Wings, Applebee's, BJ's, and Yard House. Our first direct competitor is BJ's, and they are very product-centered around craft brews, pizzas, and pizookies, which is not a lasting source of sustainable competitive advantage. Our second direct competitor is Buffalo Wild Wings, and their mission is to wow their customers through customer service, food, fun, and value, which is not a lasting source of sustainable competitive advantage because they will be engaged in price wars.
And so these are our indirect competitors that we hold a high reverence for due to their technological capacities and them meeting the needs of convenience. So first up, we'd like to introduce the local microbreweries and their flexibility and vast selection of craft beer.
In the fine dining sector, we have Ruth Chris Steakhouse.
And in the casual dining, we have Olive Garden.
Companies in the home delivery meal sector like Blue Apron meet the time and convenience need of bringing a meal directly to a customer's door weekly.
And in the fast casual section, we have Pyology and Chipotle, which offers customization to your meal in a very short period of time.
So we'd like to point out some of the industry technology that is currently going on today. Things like app, online, database technology, delivery. These are constantly changing and uncontrollable and prevalent with the industry competition.
Moving on to macroeconomic factors, one of the obvious factors is how the current economy is doing. If the economy isn't doing so well, people will tend to stay in rather than eating out.
USDA and FDA regulations play a huge role in the food and beverage industry, so this impacts Red Robin economically.
Because Red Robin sources a lot of their products locally, droughts and farming can affect them.
Any change in the minimum wage law or requirement would affect Red Robin, as at restaurant locations there are minimum wage earners.
And the price and increase in commodities such as oil will increase menu items at Red Robin.
Nutrition is also a huge economic factor as the food trends in the food industry is moving towards health consciousness.
And so through our research on the industry customer, we found a generational shift in preference. The industry customer likes to see different sources of protein aside from plant-based. They also look towards plant-based protein. They also meet the needs of convenience as they're looking for more options on the go and looking for transparency as it is high on the minds of our industry customer. They like to see how the business is leaving their environmental footprint as they run their day-to-day business. And lastly, the millennials are changing the way that food is being done and consumed, just as the way that baby boomers did back then.
We will now be going into our SWOT analysis. So we've conducted a pretty traditional SWOT analysis in terms of our strengths and weaknesses coming from internal controllable factors and our opportunities and threats stemming from external non-controllable factors. However, there is one non-traditional aspect of our study, and that is we have identified some of our strengths that we believe are also super strengths. What this means is that we will be leveraging them as newfound sources of sustainable competitive advantage. So they will also be listed as opportunities.
So just to remind everyone of our team's definition of sustainable competitive advantage, it is a company's unique assets, attributes, and abilities that are difficult to imitate and provide a superior, favorable long-term advantage over our competitors and increase customer perceived value.
Moving on to the strengths of Red Robin, as we mentioned previously before, Red Robin is customer and employee driven. For example, Red Robin Foundation shows that the company is willing to assist their team members during catastrophic times while also being willing to do community outreach events to support their local community. Red Robin tries to genuinely serve their employees with integrity and bottomless fun while also being willing to listen to areas of improvement and success.
Another strength is HR's function of retaining. Through their implementation of Yammer, this allowed their frontline employees to have a voice in the business. By doing this, it gets them more proactive and involved.
We've seen that Red Robin has a very strong database asset. They leverage the technology and cloud environment provided by Anaplan to provide daily performance reports to all locations. This enables them to differentiate locations by current and future value.
And another strength of Red Robin is their ability to maintain such a strong and healthy relationship with all their local suppliers. And this allows them to use fresh ingredients.
Moving on to their weaknesses, coupons and pricing promotions are a huge factor in Red Robin, and we believe that this decreases customer perceived value and it makes customers dependent on these coupons.
Red Robin currently does not proactively recruit, so this is definitely an area of improvement in order to better leverage their intellectual capital. We cannot find any ongoing professional development in their training program, while their hiring process stays very standard.
Taking a look at weaknesses, Red Robin's current customer loyalty program is very price discount focused. So we believe that this is a weakness because customers don't have a high perceived value of paying premium pricing.
Another weakness would be Red Robin's inability to leverage customer data. Currently, they store their data in Anaplan to find their business's current and future value, but they neglect to find the customer's current and future value.
So we'd now like to tell you about our opportunities. Red Robin has the internal opportunity of further capitalizing on capturing customer data. through technology like the tablets they have at every single table, app device technology, and their online portal, there is the opportunity to seek and collect customer data and integrate that in their database asset.
So for external opportunities, we believe that there is some technology that Red Robin is not aware of. For example, they currently have an app, but it is only available for Android users. And we believe that making this available to Apple users will open up a new customer base for them.
And so another opportunity would be food culture. The food culture is always changing. And through our research on the industry customer, we've also noticed that they seek to have variety. We'd like to see how we can expand more on the menu, as it is an opportunity.
Red Robin is always pursuing to enhance customer experience. Since technology allows food culture and trends to change so rapidly, Red Robin seeks to meet customer expectations and demands by exceeding customer expectations. Whether this be price or value-added services, Red Robin is always looking to improve customer experience.
So taking a look at threats, more and more we see that consumers are changing with economic conditions and industry trends. So it is a very uncontrollable, unknown threat of where consumers will actually spend their money.
And in general, an increase in unit labor costs means lower productivity. And with lower productivity means Red Robin can see higher expenses. As Red Robin is in debt, this would hurt us financially.
And another threat for Red Robin is how our indirect competitions are able to utilize upcoming technology to attract different customers. It is important for Red Robin to be aware and understand these changes.
So these are three of our strengths that we believe will be newfound sources of sustainable competitive advantage. Red Robin is currently strategic and proactive at retaining the function of HR. However, there is the opportunity to further leverage their intellectual capital by recruiting the best and the brightest employees.
And as I stated before, Red Robin is able to maintain a healthy and a strong relationship with local suppliers. So by leveraging their success with local supply chain management, we believe that there's a further opportunity for Red Robin to obtain sustainable competitive advantage.
And lastly, Red Robin has an under-leveraged database asset. They strategically utilize their database asset for financials, but we want to see them use this more on customer data and use this to differentiate customers based on their current and future values.
We are now excited to roll out to you our recommendations. We will be starting with our 2 viable alternatives, then continue with our minor recommendations, and conclude with our major programmatic recommendation. One thing to keep in mind is that these recommendations are not intended to boost short-term gain or increase stock prices and market share immediately. They are for the long-term success and strategic competitive advantage over our competitors.
So for our first viable alternative, we are suggesting an HR recruiting program. What this is going to look like is Red Robin recruiters going out to college campuses during the fall and the spring semesters, and also to job fairs to promote our paid internship program. What this is going to look like is interns shadowing a GM in a restaurant to get to know the restaurant business, as well as we're going to be offering a corporate level of this. So interns will be able to go to corporate headquarters and get to know some departments corporately. Future jobs can come out of this, and we want to promote this on social media to get the word out about this program. Our goal is to try to recruit the best and the brightest to further our intellectual capital.
We did not choose this as our programmatic recommendation because this program would need to expand a whole new sector of HR, and that would be timely and costly. For instance, hiring recruiters will be costly when they have to go travel and go to certain job fairs or events. This viable alternative would also bring about a systematic change if interns were to shadow managers at certain restaurant locations or regions, as well as implementing this at a corporate level. Current employees would also have to adapt to this new program and be able to successfully implement those interns into the workplace. Ultimately, this would influence the corporate culture, as it would bring about a lot of change in the workplace, and both to restaurant and to corporate locations. The return on investment on this program is not easily measurable, and the process would be long and rigorous, which is why we did not ultimately choose this as our programmatic recommendation.
So Red Robin currently utilizes local suppliers for their food, and we'd like to further leverage this strength by creating a strategic alliance with craft beer for our second viable alternative. So what this would look like is that we would partner with local microbreweries and serve their beer on our menu, and we could serve it regionally or locally depending on their capacities. This will provide us with a wide range of beer and better selection and target the niche market of the craft beer crowd. And through our research into industry customer, we found this to be very much trending. We seek to earn higher premium profit margins. As you've seen from our product mix, alcohol sales are at 8%, and we'd like to increase this.
And the reason why we didn't choose it as our major recommendation was mainly due to costs. Currently, we have 551 plus locations, and it will be very difficult to build alliances with all the microbreweries. And also marketing the beers and installing the kegs and taps will be costly as well.
So our minor recommendations address our weaknesses and support our major programmatic rec. On the top, you will find decreasing our discount and price promotion strategies. We believe that this leads customers to be very discount dependent, and we want to insulate customer perceived value, so we would suggest decreasing these. In addition, as we seek to be strategic and proactive about retaining the best and the brightest employees and suggest as a further area of study the recruiting program, we want to address hiring and training functions of HR as well. We want to make sure that we are providing ongoing development and means for employees to seek growth internally. It is integral to our major recommendation that we capitalize on customer data capture by seeking every possible opportunity to collect data from our customers by apps and tablet devices. We want to integrate this in our database system. Investing more in digital business strategy is also important. Red Robin is in debt, and we see digital business marketing as an effective and efficient means to reach customers and get Red Robin's brand image out there. Lastly, you will see that we think that it is integral to train our employees, to best serve our differentiated customers, and we want to leverage intellectual capital through this.
So now we would like to introduce our programmatic recommendation. We will be revamping our current royalty program to eliminate the coupon center that it is. We will be creating a tiered-based point system to differentiate customers' current and future value. On the side, you'll see the 3 tiered systems that we have created. We have the Scarlet, Crimson, and Ruby tiers. Upon entering the program, you will immediately become Scarlet, and by accruing more points, you can move up in the tiered system.
Moving on to value-added services, this is a point-tiered system, and upon first-time entry, they would be in the Scarlet program. Customers will be able to choose and customize their royalty benefits after accumulating so many points. They can add value services such as make reservations via app or online, pre-order food for pickup, delivery, or dine-in for time convenience. And one of the key value-added services is that you receive invitations to exclusive member events.
And so once you graduate from the Scarlet tier, you move up to the second tier, which is Crimson. And so keep in mind that once you enter a tier, you don't automatically unlock all the perks, but rather you have to keep accumulating points, and they'll have the power to pick and choose their perks as you move up. The reason we do this is so that there's an incentive to keep moving up and they don't remain at a standstill. So example of the perks in the Crimson tier that you can choose from is picking your booth for convenience before you enter the store, exclusive Red Robin royalty parking spots, and opt-in for tableside bartender service.
And the last tier is the Ruby tier. And as you accrue more points, you'll be able to choose the benefits one by one. And so some of the benefits are complimentary delivery, early access to new menu items, private catered events for top 5% of Ruby royalty, and ability to submit custom menu items for chefs to choose as a special.
So one of the key value-added services would be this event strategy. You will find a mock-up of an invitation to a royalty member. So there are also examples listed on the screen. What this could look like is locations would have the power to design events, and for example, quarterly they could let their royalty members send royalty members invitations to these, and on their portal they could RSVP to these events. One example of this would be a beer tasting night at the bar. So what this is important is that it could provide the restaurant location the opportunity to close off the bar for a couple hours one evening for exclusive access by royalty members. This kind of creates a stratification at that location at that evening of people who have access to something and who do not have access to something. So royalty members would receive this reward and value-added service, and non-royalty members would be able to see what the royalty members have and be incentivized to enroll in the program to obtain these value-added services.
So here's an example of a letter that we would send out to our current royalty program members, just informing them of the changes that we'll be making within the program.
So we recognize that this new program would be a living, breathing entity, and what that means is that there is organic ebb and flow. Customers can accrue points and they can also lose points.
Accruing points per transaction is the main source of accruing points, although there are other avenues of accruing points, such as surveys, referring a friend, checking in on Facebook or Instagram, as well as leaving feedback reviews on websites such as Yelp.
Members will be able to lose points due to inactivity for a long period of time.
And here's a mock-up of the web and the app. Here, each member will be able to see their progress and current benefits, and they'll also be able to make reservations and order online. And to gain extra points, they can take surveys, refer friends, and leave feedback.
So when customers sign up to the programs, we are going to be asking them some questions in order to better serve them and differentiate them. For customers who are currently in the program, these are questions that we will survey them for, which they can accrue points for. Some of these questions include, do you have any dietary restrictions? Do you have any children under 12? How many people are in your family?
Now we will be taking you through the process of the My Royalty experience as if you were actually a royalty member. This is a mock-up slide for the Red Robin Royalty portal, and such information that would be taken are name, dietary restrictions, and how often do you eat out. So some of the golden questions.
And so here we want to make sure that no points go lost. So if you go into the restaurant and you forget your phone or your app, we want to make sure that you get your points that you've earned. So at the bottom of your receipt, there will be a barcode that you can take home and scan on a phone that has the app or your membership logged in.
And once you accrue more points, you become a Crimson member, and one of their benefits is being able to choose a booth. Here you see that you can choose a location first and choose your booth for your liking.
So other means of accruing points would be checking in on social media like Facebook or leaving a review on Yelp. On your online portal, My Royalty portal, you would be able to link your social media so that anytime you leave some comment or review or check in on an outside source, you would automatically accrue those points.
So like Duke mentioned before, you can also lose points as well as gain them. An example of someone losing points is if someone decides to travel abroad for a semester and they're gone for 4 months, unable to get to a Red Robin restaurant location. Because of this, they would move down in the tiered system and lose points.
Like we've shown in the letter, there will be correspondence to the current royalty members of transferring points. We will create awareness of the program through the means of social media, app awareness, web development, and our frontline employees. While this is not a significant expenditure, there will be some costs for marketing that would take place at certain restaurant locations, as well as the training of our frontline employees. We will be financing this by using the cash from the operations, and this program will then be pilot tested at a specific region, and then we will do primary research in order to understand the areas of success and areas of improvement. Along with the social media campaign and app awareness, there will be a personalized portal so that customers can see their status. This will be a personalized portal for each customer so that we can differentiate our current royalty members.
And reasons why we believe our revamped royalty program will work is because it aligns with our definition of SCA, as it increases customer perceived value through our value-based services, and it eliminates the current coupon and discount royalty program. We'll be able to differentiate our customers through customer data gathered, and it also increases premium profit margins.
Moving on to expected outcomes, we'll be able to maintain our clear mission statement, which is to be employee and customer driven.
In training our employees to best serve our differentiated customers, we will be leveraging intellectual capital.
This will inspire, motivate, and empower our employees.
This will improve customer service by understanding customer needs.
And we'll be able to differentiate our customers through customer data.
And this program will increase customer satisfaction and loyalty.
In eliminating the current discount promotion center, we will be able to achieve higher premium profit margins.
This will enhance and protect our brand image.
And this will overall strengthen shareholder activism.
And we'll be able to analyze the success of this recommendation by seeing how frequent each customer's visit and how much they spend. And also by conducting primary research through surveys we'll be able to hear back from the customers directly. And through social media, we can see if this recommendation is getting positive or negative PR. And lastly, through stock prices, we can see how our shareholders has, how this has impacted our shareholders.
So due to the 15 weeks that we had for our study, there were some limitations. We've outlined some areas for future study, one of those being global locations. Our international restaurants are an area that we suggest looking further into, as they could potentially benefit from our recommendations.
As we talked about before, we believe that Red Robin can benefit from an HR recruiting program.
Forming strategic alliances with local breweries would be an area for future study.
And currently there are 2 Red Robins in Oregon using a function called Red Robin Delivery, and we'd like to see how we can expand that function more across the board.
And since technology is constantly improving, another area for future study is tech and customer data capture.
Moving on to spiritual application, I just want to take a moment to reflect on our study as a group. In the beginning of our study, we met and laid out some rules and guidelines that we're going to abide by for the next 15 weeks. Stewardship and accountability were 2 things highlighted. And reflecting back, a core principle that we saw was diligence and working hard in order to make this project the way that it is. Although it wasn't easy always to find times in between our schedules to meet, we always found times and we made it work, and we ended up meeting multiple times a week. On the slide, you'll see some examples of verses that we abided by throughout our study, and we also have verses up there that we thought applied, reflecting on our study.
A verse that was relatable to us throughout the course of our studies was Philippians 2, which talks about imitating Christ's humility. This was because we have to go through constant criticism, not only from our peers, but also our classmates. And in order to improve our knowledge and performance of our company, this was something that we all had to face. So this definitely strengthened the relationships in our group.
We would now like to leave you with a couple final thoughts. One of those being that we would not as a team collectively invest in Red Robin. Red Robin currently engages in a very competitive industry, and they kind of acquiesce to those current price wars. So because they don't leverage any internal competencies to differentiate themselves from the competition, we would not put our capital into investing in them. However, we do think that we would work for Red Robin. Red Robin boasts a healthy and functional corporate culture. They value their employees as an asset, and their movement toward contemporary ideology further shows that they think that their employees have the most power to understand customer needs and wants. So we would work for Red Robin.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Now we'll be taking your questions.
I will.
You talk a lot about them having the local suppliers for fresh food, and yet they serve frozen fries in their restaurant. How is that? It doesn't seem to me that they're into really truly into fresh food if they're doing that.
So that's a minor technicality. I apologize if that wasn't clear. The frozen fries are only in supermarkets.
No, they're also in the restaurant.
So our
Yeah, that's why I quit going there. One of the reasons I quit eating there. Yeah. Unless, yeah.
So from our secondary research alone, we have only found them highlighting local suppliers and fresh ingredients.
Yeah, that's something they changed. Yeah, it's probably not anywhere listed. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Interesting.
yeah, it is an interesting thing.
Well, I have a question for you. Before I go into the spiritual, why would you not invest today in Red Robin, where its stock is 30% down for 22, whichever report you read, and it's a good value for stock.
We as a
What's
team.
your decision based on?
Oh, okay, I'll go. Are you after me? So we as a team, we did wrestle with this, but with the implementation of a new CEO, we did wonder how she would take the company. So since she is very new, there's not really much to go off of.
And we as a team agreed upon that there were much more better investing strategies or options as well.
And I think to add on to that, Red Robin currently engages extensively in price promotions and discount pricing. They don't leverage premium pricing and try to insulate customer perceived value. So since they engage in these price wars in the industry, they're not leveraging any internal competencies to rise above that aspect and differentiate themselves from the competition. And this is a trend that we would hope if they did change, it would make us more willing and to invest in them. However, since they don't, we collectively agreed that at this time we would not make that investment.
Anyone else?
Yeah, we also just decided that there was a lot of competition out there with Red Robin, so we thought it was best, as well as the new CEO, and we would want to see her more of her leadership philosophy as the years go on, since she just became CEO in 2016. We just collectively thought that it was best to not invest at the moment.
But you would work for the company?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
and how would you work to benefit the company? I'm a stockholder.
So we admire their corporate culture. Corporate culture is something that is deeply embedded, and we as a team think that it is something that speaks to the leadership if their employees feel empowered to make decisions. So we as a team, if we were to be involved in ever working at Red Robin, we would seek to continue to have that sense of contemporary organizational ideology play out in terms of employees being a great asset and empowered to make decisions about customer needs and wants.
So you'd work for the president in their strategic team?
Yes.
What you're saying?
Yes, we as a team also said that we would probably prefer to work at say corporate instead of restaurant locations, because we personally don't all see ourselves in that frontline restaurant industry, but more so, for example, like an accounting section and a marketing section.
Mm-hmm.
And also, along with the new president coming in with Denny, she's moving towards like a very contemporary structure, and seems like it would be very good for, I guess, like just a work environment with other employees, and they seem to value their team members a lot in their core values.
Well, I think you'd make a good team for
Yeah.
CEO together, 5 of you.
Thank you.
It's typical for a new CEO to come in and then write off a lot of the bad assets so that going forward they look good. Do you know what the return on equity would have been without the write-off? Had they not made the big asset write-down? I could know those numbers. Because that would be something I would want to know in that, okay, if I remove that, what does the operations look like?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we have that.
Yeah, I don't think we have those numbers
Apologize.
at this instant.
The total asset impairment is a one-time charge though, so we would expect it to go back up.
Right.
Sorry.
So one of the things I want to say is great presentation.
Thank you.
I've sat in on these for the last couple of years. I obviously haven't seen all of them, but you guys, of the ones I've sat in, you guys are the most polished. So you guys
Thank you.
fabulous job. Very good. So now some questions. I missed clarity, and I may have just been making a note and didn't pick up on it, but I didn't hear clearly what the sustainable competitive advantage was. Can you explain that a little more on what the current competitive advantage is that Red Robin has?
Yeah, so here you'll see our team's definition of sustainable competitive advantage. We just want to make, so our recommendation was to...
That's your definition of what it is, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what is Red Robin's sustainable competitive advantage?
So currently we see them engaging in those price wars, and I think that they believe that engaging and attracting customers by offering products at low prices is their way to attract customers to it. So I
Low
think
price is their thing right now.
And another sustainable competitive advantage is their ability to maintain such a healthy and strong relationship with their local suppliers.
Okay.
Yeah, and jumping off of that, we do focus on value-based services rather than low prices.
so our definition seeks to change what they currently believe would be their sustainable competitive advantage.
So your recommendation of the royalty program, how much do you think it will benefit the company? And for how long? How long will it take it to start benefiting? How long will it benefit it for? And how long, or what kind of impact do you see it having on the financials of the company?
This is a long-term investment into growing our customer base, and this is so that we can understand and collect data of our customers so that we can better serve them. So I think this would take it's a long-term view rather than a short-term quick gain for this program.
So something that we hope to see in the future with this new program is increased profit, because we won't be discounting food anymore, and in doing that, Red Robin has been losing much profit.
And we're hoping that will increase customer perceived value as well.
So we don't have a definitive number of ROI right now for you, unfortunately, but hopefully in conducting primary research and further understanding exactly how costs would need to be allocated for all of the implementations needed, we would be able to discern a more certain profitable ROI number. But we do think that this strategy is something that is the least costly of the alternatives we thought through, and that is why we chose it ultimately as the programmatic rec. So with that, timeline-wise, it would involve beta testing, pilot testing, primary research, and ultimately then launching the new program. So we would think that within the next few years, certainly maximum, that the potential for it to be implemented could take place.
How big of a risk do you think the debt is that they're carrying currently?
So right now, the debt actually it is a lot, but it isn't anything for them to worry about right now, because of the cash that they're bringing in is so much. The debt isn't something for them to be worried about, and debt is also very common in the restaurant industry. Most restaurants have a high debt.
So we usually use debt to further expand. If you look at our competitors, the reason why they had no debt in earlier years is because they followed a different model. They use retained earnings to expand.
Right, so we see our locations and buildings, our restaurants, as a big asset, and they have been they have been strategically acquiring their franchise locations over the past few years, and they did use some debt to finance this, and so they saw being debt leverage as an opportunity to grow in that avenue.
And also the maturity of the debt is 2021. It gives them roughly about 4 or 5 years for them to collect revenue, retain earnings, and slowly pay it back.
Do they own their real estate also, or just the?
No, it's
all leased.
Yes.
I have a question on the advantage, competitive advantage. You have not discussed much about the reasons why you selected the competition, the 3 different companies. And what were the criteria utilized to select those? There are other competitors that could have given you insight in making recommendations to us and the company to improve their performance and capture a long-term market. What were the criteria for selecting these?
So in general, we so for our 2 direct competitors that we did our financial analysis with, they had to be publicly traded. So that's, for example, why Applebee's was eliminated. But in general, the same in terms of casual dining, product offerings, all those things were things that we considered in terms of selecting these direct competitors.
Mm-hmm. And when you compare Red Robin to these restaurants in the casual dining sector, they mainly focus on their craft breweries because that seems to be their biggest return on profit from most of their products. And that's something that Red Robin has been looking to further further expand on, is their craft brew section.
Yeah.
Morningstar prefers to compare Red Robin's financials with Ruby's, for example. Yes, Buffalo Wing is one, and Ruby's Tuesday, that is, and also Fuddruckers and similar places where they may not be as competitive, but their prices per sock is quite high, much higher than Red Robin's. So my question is again, why did you select not to focus on the competition to compete rather than to continue with their policy of low prices? Low prices eventually will take you to suicide.
Another aspect we looked at for specifically selecting these competitors was their volume in terms of locations, and they had to be an international. They had to have international locations as well, and so that was another facet in terms of specifically choosing these competitors for analysis. We recognize that there are more than just these offerings, and it could take up a whole bunch of screens if we did include every single one.
Natural, you don't have to go beyond 3. Anyone else? You know, you could get a lot of insight from the competition.
Yes.
So perhaps that's your next challenge.
So question, do you all think that your recommendation of the royalty program is the best recommendation that you had considered?
Yeah, we do. As a team, we just collectively, between our 3 options, we thought that this was the best because we saw a need for it really in Red Robin because of all of their pricing promotions. It really would take them down. And so we seek to just increase their profit instead of watch them decline and then go to their death. So yeah.
And as well, they would understand their customers more, and their marketing campaigns with KBS have been leaning towards, rather than just a family-friendly environment, they want to be accessible to just a wider range of customers. So moving towards that in the marketing campaign, I think will help them better understand their customers as a whole with this this programmatic rec.
And to add on to that, we all believe that this was the safest recommendation, since they already have a royalty program. They just need to revamp it compared to the internship program or the strategic alliances program with craft beer. They didn't build it from scratch up.
And also, with the increasing information in business that they have and the demand for business analysts, this will allow us to get more customer data, and we'll be able to find more information on our customer by their current and future value, and this will also help us find the most valuable customer.
So I would like to also point out that the other ones were viable alternatives, and we recommend them to you in our areas of future study. One of the primary reasons of each of our 2 viable alternatives that we did not choose them at this time particularly is because of costs involved. So both of those viable alternatives will have significantly more costs, and at this time, we believe that this is a more efficient option.
So no dissenting views there.
No.
You guys were unanimous on that. How do you think your Christian values apply to your recommendation? And answer that in light of Philippians 2 that you commented on, imitating the humility of Christ.
I think understanding our customers will help us better to serve them and understand their needs. So I think in knowing who our customers are and what they want will just, overall help us serve them better.
And also in imitating Christ's humility, another verse we had on there was in John, and that talks about Christ's servanthood. Christ was the ultimate example of service and love, and in better understanding customers and their needs and wants, we would hope that if a desire to best serve people as sacrificially and lovingly as possible would also exemplify Christ's humility.
And you will be, I'm assuming, through the royalty program, treating members of the royalty program differently than you would treat your other customers. So how does that apply to your Christian beliefs and faith?
So yes, there is a stratification in terms of value-based service offerings.
Yeah.
However, an employee can serve people equally while recognizing that one person has access to something that someone does not. And within that, I mean, I hope it could be in the terms of like, oh, a believer, I mean, it's a terrible example, but like an opportunity to shine through and tell something what they could have access to and be involved in.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, Robin, to
Go ahead.
If you were to add to your recommendations long term, and training and recruiting program, how would you recommend the board to instill a value and principle-based, Christian obviously, program to influence the recruiting and the training? So would you?
I think integrity is definitely something that we would look for in recruiting. So in sending those recruiters out, we would want the recruiters to have integrity themselves to make sure that they see that in other people also.
Time for a couple more questions, if you guys have them.
I didn't listen to the full question. Could you?
Oh, the
repeat?
question is, should you recommend in your long-term recommendations to the board, including spiritual values and principles to their recruiting and training program? Since they don't have one, but they would be interested in accepting your recommendation, and you're responsible to bring in your values, your principles, to bear the board's decisions. How would you go about doing it? Would you? I mean, maybe you say, no, it's not our place to do that.
I think one thing we've seen so far from our CEO, Denny Post, is that her leadership is very charismatic, positive, motivational, very relating. And so her ability to shine that through and lead her corporate culture and employees that way is one example of how a retaining and recruiting programs can shine through values without specifically saying something. And so we would hope that our model of attracting and seeking out the best qualities in people and individualizing different employees as having assets and strengths would be a mode of shining through our desire to implement the best and the brightest attributes of every single one and let them shine in their strengths, which has Christian stewardship and seeking to serve people and have them shine too, if that makes sense.
Would you be bold enough to recommend the board to add to their mission statement integrity and honesty and all goes with it, and the light of Christ?
We as a team would have to collectively have a stance on that. And if I think that this is a theoretical question, and so it's not based on our research alone. It's not based on our research or our methodology by any means, but we as a team would have to have a stance on that.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Very good question.
That's a very nice comment of yours.
You guys went after the right thing. They
Thank you, Bob.
counting so much.
Thank you.
And that's good.
I'll
Good
give-
job.
thank you so
You went
much.
after the right
for
things.
coming.
Good for you guys. Good
Thank
job.
you so much.
For your job,
Thank you.
your next job.
Thank you, Mr.
You're a
Yurgat.
good spokeswoman for